Boom. Oh, hello. It's go time. All right, so here, check this out. I'm going to first start off by reading my bit, right? Because I'm understanding if I read my bit first, then I can sort of kind of start the conversation with myself. So then that way, when I flow with my lecture, the words, they're just gonna flow together, right? They're gonna flow together. But ultimately, I think what I'm getting down to the point is that I'm just going to be talking about documents, and I'm going to lecture about documents, and I want to show because I am man and I show, right? That's what I figured it out. I was like, so basically, I am just supposed to just show. That's all I'm supposed to do. What do? I work, and what do I work? I show, right? So show, work, show. So I'm figuring all the words out because it's all basically math, because the words are the math, right? And then the letters are the programs, right? These are the programs that we tell ourselves so we can operate, right? And then when we operate, we work, we move, we go. And then that's what I'm doing now, right? So I'm showing how I operate, right? And I'm showing how I operate with the words, right? Because I figured it out because of the coronavirus, right? The words of the head is what controls us, right? Corona is crown, right? So the coronavirus, they controlled the people's heads, and then you can see how the people's heads were controlled because of what they've done, right? The people either put on a mask or they got a jab, right? Those were the two outcomes of the coronavirus. I mean, it was basically, that was the whole game. The whole game was, who can we get to do what, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a lot of fear out there in the energy, right? And then once the fear was out there, then you can see that the people would react, right? So the fear caused the people to react, right? Once the people reacted, then they broke the jam, right? That's what happened, right? So the coronavirus is what woke me up. No, they did not. So the coronavirus is what woke me up. Right, that was my wife, and my wife was asking me if the dogs ate, and I was like, "Oh no, the dogs did not eat." So she was like, "Oh man, now I got to go feed the dogs." Right, so she's gonna feed the spirits. But anyway, so the coronavirus is what woke me up. Right, that's what happened. Right, Why is this thing right here? Let me move that. All right, there we go. Hold on, let me hit that again. All right, pause. Get back to my flow. So the coronavirus woke me up because it showed me that the world was binary. You either had to choose. You had to make a choice. It made it very simple. Are you going to let someone do something to your vessel? Right? And then I said, no, you will not do anything to my vessel no matter what. I was like, where do you get this strange authority from? And this is what happened with me with the coronavirus, right? So the coronavirus was like, oh my God, it's time for me to wake up, man, because like, what's happening? It's like, if I were a little puppet, right, and a man had control of my puppet, and then he was like, watch what I can make this puppet do. I'm going to put this puppet down and I'm going to stick it with a pin, right? That's how I felt. I felt as if someone was trying to take my puppet, and they wanted to take my puppet and they wanted to stick pins in my puppet, right? And I was like, no, I don't want that. You can't do that, right? Because that means that I don't control my puppet. And I was like, no way, that can't be. And that's how I woke up. So the coronavirus is what woke me up. Loki, no, down. See, the dogs make sounds. That's just what they do. And then you have to tell them, hey, stop, no, down. All right, so I was like, yeah, no one's going to stick my puppet. And that's what happened with the coronavirus. That woke me up. It's really that simple. You can't stick my puppet. I'm the only thing that can mess with my puppet. You, no. Me, yes. And then boom, I'm up, right? So that's what happened with me. Hello, hi. All right, so here, let me get down with my flow, because what I want to talk about today is the Constitution, because I want to remember the Constitution. Because the Constitution is what forms everything, right? So the Constitution is the paper, the piece of paper that rules are written on, that tell other men and other women how to operate in the realm, right? So example, you have a governor, and the governor is the manager of a certain area, right? And then the governor just makes sure that the business is taken care of. That's all the governor does. The governor has no other ability, no other power. It's like, governor, govern, do your job, right? Do what's on the paper. That's all you have to do. So this is what happened when the coronavirus woke me up, because I realized that people were not doing what is written on the paper, right? So then it was like, people don't follow the rules. That's what happened. People do not follow the rules. And because they don't follow the rules, it was like all kind of craziness happened. All kind of craziness happened. People lost jobs. People got sick. People broke up. It did all sorts of things like that. And this is what happened with the head virus, right? So the head virus did this to everyone, right? So everybody was controlling everyone's puppets, right? And it was just really, it was crazy and scary to see when I was going through it, right? So as I was going through it, I was like, what is happening, right? I was making videos, right? I was making videos expressing myself, saying, I don't know how this is happening, because that's when I was in the man stage of going through all of the jokes and the conspiracy theories and trying to see, who's controlling what's happening here? Oh my God, it's you. It was like red team, blue team. It was red team, blue team. That's what that realm was all about. It was like, who's on red team? Who's on blue team? And then I was like, yeah, I'm not on any of those teams. I was like, I like what both the teams say, right? Because a blue team will say one thing and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool, right? And then the red team will say something and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool too, right? And then I'm like, yo, do them both. I was like, you can do something with it both, because you just ultimately want an outcome, right? So each of the teams were playing a game, right? And then the game is what could be the outcome, right? What was the outcome? And then they never really got outcomes. That's all I saw with the red team, blue team. The outcomes that they had were not good. They were not good outcomes, right? Because people were harmed. And that's what happened with the red team, blue team. I found out that they would harm people because the people didn't know how to read, right? So the people didn't know how to read, and then they couldn't follow the instructions, right? And the reason why that bothered me is because I've worked in surgery for a very long time, since like 1998, because I went to the Navy. And then I went to the Navy, and then the Navy taught me some skills, and then the skills the Navy taught me allowed me to work in health, right? And then I worked in the health, and then we just fixed people, right? So people came into a room, and then they had problems with parts of their body, right? And then we would either remove those parts from the body, right? We was like, oh, you can't have that anymore. That's no good. Get it out of here. Or we would take the part of the body and we would reconnect it in a different way, right? That's basically all you do in surgery. You're just either taking something out or putting something in or reconnecting stuff, right? And then that would happen over and over and over again, and everything was surgery, right? We would do it surgical, right? So we would have to follow the steps, right? Then the steps were related to the words, right? So the word says incision go, right? So you would go, and then you would open, and then you would dissect down, and you would get to your point. It was like a map, right? So the words were the map to the body that we followed to get to an ultimate destination, so we can provide a service to the body internally, right? So we serve the body internally by fixing it and doing things like that. And I did that for a long time. And then, they said that they had to do things to my body, right? So anytime a being would say, do something to my body, I would always say, no, wait, stop, right? That happened since I was a little boy to a man to now, right? So I've always known that you cannot do that. There was always a point where it was like, you can't do that, not to me. And then to see that, okay, there was people that were allowing people to harm their body. Like they literally would trespass onto someone's property. And, I have these new words now because of this, right? So I understand the law now because of the coronavirus, right? The coronavirus woke me up. It really woke me up, and I thank it for that, so now I have to have the word flow, right? Because I have to do what God said, because God said, begin word begin, right? And I focus on the word now, because people didn't know the words, right? People didn't know the words of how their body worked, right? They didn't understand that there's respiration, exhale, you breathe in, you out, in, out. The body exists because of the breath, right? So people were covering up their mouths, to stop something from getting in or getting out, right? And then it was confusing to me, because then it was like, people don't understand particle size, right? I was like, look, see my little people puppets, I always have them in front of me, right? So the people were like, they don't understand particle size. right? So because they don't understand the size of a particle, right, they didn't understand the mask technology. And because they didn't understand the mask technology, they did what they were told to do, right? So when you saw groups of people doing what they're told to do, because the claim was that the mask technology would stop something from happening, right? And then it was like, okay, that didn't really happen, right? But then people did it. And then you were just watching this. There was this weird behavior that was happening during the coronavirus time, of how people were behaving, right? They just followed what the screen told them what to do, right? Screen said, do this. People were like, okay. And then they did it, right? Screen said, don't go to work. People were like, okay. And then the screen was just talking to the people, and then they were just following. I mean, the way you can see it because of the mask. So the mask showed me who the people were that did not know how to read, right? So I know now that there are large groups of people that cannot read words, right? Because they cannot put the words together to allow them to function, right? That's what I've discovered. And that's why I'm going through this process of documenting my words, so then that way I know when in the future I wake back up and I'm like, okay, here's the tracks that allow you to function, right? So here's going to be the Bible, right? Here's the Bible, and you can listen and you can see the Bible, right? Here's the Constitution, and you can listen and you can see the Constitution, and then you're going to be able to download these things, right? So you can download them, and then you'll be able to take them for yourself, and then you'll be able to read them, and then you'll be able to manipulate them. You'll be able to take the words that I say, right? Because I'm just going to read the words and I'm going to simplify the words, because I just have to make the word simple, right? One word, one meaning. And then after I do that, then I'll know for a fact that I did my job. I did what God told me to do, right? I had to put the word down. I have to create the memory. I have to protect the children. I have to protect the sick, right? I have to protect those that aren't mentally well, right? And I know that there's a lot of people around there in this realm that are like that, because you can tell who they are now because they wore the mask and they got the jab, right? So I know who I have to protect now, because the mask and the jab showed me. And it's really going to be that simple, right? So now that shows me that the whole world needs protection, because everybody got the mask or the jab, or they woke up, right? It was either something like that. You got the mask, you got the jab, or you woke up. That was what happened, right? Or you died. Right, or you died, right? So those were the outcomes of the corona times. I happen to be one of the lucky ones, because I was able to I woke up, and then I saw the word, right? And then once I was able to see the word, then I saw Father God, right? Once I saw the word, I saw Father God, I put them together, and then I realized that, I had characters, I had those that couldn't see, I had to speak to them, I had those you couldn't hear, and then I had to speak to them. Right. And then I had those that can't speak, and then I have to speak to them. Right. So I have to speak to these spirits now, because in the future, when you wake, right, you're going to have an operating system. And this is going to be that virtual operating system of one man telling one story of his experience of what he sees happening in this realm, and how I use my mind and how I use my hands to build things, right? This is how I build. I build with my mind, and I build with my hands, and I build with my mouth, right? I build with all my senses, right? So I have to show future self that this is what life is supposed to be like, right? And then it'll just go on and on and on. And then the reason why I have this locked in my head is because I grew up on the screen, right? So the screen raised me. I watched shows from back in the day that helped show me how to operate this way, right? So I would watch the Sesame Street. I would watch I forgot his name, Mr. Rogers, right? So, and then I would watch the cartoons, and then I would apply the things, and then I would remember the little lessons, because you would have lessons in the end, and then you're like, oh, okay, I got to do these lessons. Yeah. So it taught me how to be a cool little dude, right? I wasn't crazy. I didn't cause a lot of problems. I did cause problems, but not a lot of problems, right? But I, for the most part, was a good kid, not kid, but child, right? So I was a good child growing up, doing what you do, you still act up. I played with weapons. I played with animals. I had fights. I had relationships. I had breakups. You had all of the generic general stuff that just happens with normal people, right? So people are going to have the people experience where you meet people and then you break up. You meet people and then you break up. That's just what happens over and over and over again, right? So through those times, I was able to acquire a bunch of word skills, right? So the words allow me to function. And now here's the Constitution, the contract, right? So with this one right here, this document is a powerful document for me because I'm taking the Constitution and I'm taking the Bible, right? So I'm taking the words in this book right here, right? So the words from the Bible, I'm taking out and I'm putting them on that piece of paper, and I take words out of Be the One to Execute Your Trust, and I take those out and then I put them on that piece of paper, and then I take the words from right there, the California Constitution, right? So I take those words and I put them on a piece of paper. And then once I put those words on this piece of paper, then this piece of paper becomes a fact, right? And then this piece of paper can be given to some man or some woman, and then you show them what the piece of paper says, right? And if they do not agree with the words on the piece of paper, then you have your understanding of who these people are and what they are and how you're supposed to operate with them, right? It's super simple, right? You have to put everything on paper. You have to write your document down, and then you write the rules of how you operate on the document, and then you say, here are the rules. Do you agree on how we're supposed to operate together? It's really that simple, right? And then if they don't agree with how they're supposed to operate, then that means they broke the rule, right? So if you don't follow what the rules are on the piece of paper and you don't follow them and you break them, then that means you broke law, right? So if you break the law by not following what's on the paper, then that means you've caused harm, right? So if you cause harm by not following the rules that are written on the piece of paper, then what man does, right, is that we go to court, right? We go to court because we need to be compensated, right? Because we need to be made whole, right? So you have to be made whole if people don't follow the rules that are written on the piece of paper. And it's really easy because the rules now are written on paper, and on the paper, you can go find it on the internet, right? And then you can download the rules, and then you can put them on your piece of paper when you wake up, and then you can write down your rules. And then you say, here are my rules, and my rules come from God. That's how simple it is, right? Because my rules come from the Bible, and then I take the Bible, which was written by God. That's God's heart. That's God's record. So the Bible is God's trust for mankind. It's really that simple. So the Bible is God's trust for mankind, and you have to take the words that are written from God's trust for mankind, and you have to put those on record. That's what you have to do. Everything has to be on record. You have to put your heart on the record. That's what record means, back from heart, right? So you put your heart on the record, and then that way you can stand on your court. And that's all you have to do. So as long as you can put your rules on paper, and then you can stand on those rules, because you can stand your ground and you can look another man or you can look another woman in the eye, and then you can say, do you agree with me? Are we in agreement? I just want to know, do we have contract? Do you agree with the rules that I wrote on that paper of the deal that we're supposed to have, right? Because we exchange services with each other. That's all we do, right? So everything written in document form, put the rules on the paper, and that's all you have to do. And that's how you keep yourself safe, right? That's how you protect yourself, your body. That's how you protect your property. That's how you protect your family, right? So you protect your property. Your property is your family, and you have to put your family on paper. Because if your family's not on paper, then that means somebody else put your family on paper, and they control your family. You don't want that, right? So as long as you have your family on paper, then you'll be okay, right? And then you put the rules of the family on the paper, So then everybody is understanding, then you'll be okay. And that's how you write constitutions, right? So the constitutions that we've written are the rules for the family to operate as family. And the governments have rules or constitutions that man has written for the government family members to operate as family members, right? So they're supposed to treat each other kindly, and they're supposed to take care of each other in a kind way, and they're supposed to take care of man's property, right? You know, because man manages everything that God has given man dominion over. So man manages government, right? That's the rule, right? I am man and I am man and I have to manage government, right? And then government people, you know, work in government as servants of man, right? That's really how it is. So the government people work in government as servants of man, and man is supposed to be the puppet master of the government people, right? We're supposed to go like this, right? So that's what we're supposed to do with what we create, what man creates. Man creates governments so that man can have playgrounds, so man can play in, right? And we want to play in playgrounds called markets, right? And in the markets is so man can go talk to other man and say, hey, what's up, man? What do you got over there? What are you selling? What are you doing? What can I get from you? I got something for you, you got something for me, right? That's all we do. We just exchange services with each other. And then we call that time, we call that energy, we call that money, we call that currency, right? You know, so that's what man does, is that we are always in flow. We are always in exchange, right? I exchange currency, I exchange energy with other man, right? By talking with my words, right? And then I'm like, how are you doing? I am fine. How are you? I am cool, right? And it's an exchange back and forth. And then from that, right, you can build something, right? You build a relationship. From the relationship, you can build physical things, right? That's just what you're supposed to do. So from your mind, you build physical. You see things, you put them on paper, then the paper becomes physical, and then that physical becomes something else physical, right? That's just how the rules work, right? You know, so God begins word, word begins God, right? So you write it down on paper because God is going to inspire. God's going to put the words on the paper for you. And then once you write the words on the paper, then you have to say, okay, those are the words. Boom. You put your thumbprint on those words and you're like, I stand on that under penalty of perjury, right? You can take my life from me, my time from me, and lock me up. I will stand on those words, right? And that's what I had to do to wake up, is that I had to stand on my words, and I had to go find the words, and the words were in the Constitution, right? So the words that protect my body now are from the Bible and from the Constitution, right? So those two vessels have all the words that protect this vessel, right? And then they protect this vessel from other vessels out there trying to rob my ship. And I don't want that anymore, right? So that's why I do this now. That's why I write down my words in virtual form too, right? So let's get it moving, right? Here's the quest to the Constitution of the state of California. Ready? Okay, here we go. This is one body, service agent. This is my bit. This is my offer. This is my value. This is my service. This is my flow. 2, 3, more. There am I. Matthew 18:20. Minister, small master, church, Lord, swell, 1. Okay, quest, Constitution of the state of California. Preamble is before to walk. Declare is to clarify, clear. Right is straight line, correct, move in straight line. R is to fit together. Article is a part, a joint. Okay, cool. Constitute is with, together, to stand, make firm. State is to stand, make, be firm. All right. California is image, realm, copy, kingdom, domain. Okay, California is an image, a realm, an image of a realm. It's a copy, it's a kingdom, domain, right? So California is an image or a copy of some kingdom or domain, but California is not real. It's fiction. Okay, got it. Record is back from heart. Remember? Record, back from heart, 2 words. Okay, so here we go. I claim this is where I get into the meat of this contract right here. So this contract, my words, this is what I give now to all mankind, right? So I give this to mankind if I interface with you, right? So I give these words written on this right here to mankind, right? I claim we, the people of the state of California, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom in order to secure and perpetuate its blessings, do establish this Constitution. Fact. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? So here's the new rhyme that I do now, right? So I take the words from the Constitution and then I put it in this program, because this document is like a computer program, right? So a computer program are just ones and zeros that we write onto a folder or onto a file, right? So you can put something like 1 + 1 =, and then that'll make the computer figure it out. It's a program. So for man, these words written on this document are the program for man, right? So I program mankind now by asking them, do you agree with my words, right? So I write the rule down, one rule, one claim. So I claim, and then I just want you to agree, yes or no. Do you agree or disagree with my claim, right? And if you disagree with my claim, then you have to counterclaim, right? It's the game, right? I claim, you counterclaim. You counterclaim, then I claim, but then I counterclaim, right? So then we make claims all the way up until a point to where somebody's not going to be able to stand on their paper, right? So whoever can't stand on their paper, that one then loses the claim, because then the other one gets to take your claim. And now that I know that game, that's the game of law. And law is just about claim, right? And then you claim your paper, you claim your document, you claim your rule, and then you stand on it, and then you just wait. And then your defense is know the rule, know the word. And if you know the rule and you know the word, then you'll be able to defend your claim, and then nobody can take your claim, right? It's like you're a minor 49er. And then it's cool because I grew up in the Bay Area too for a little bit, and then the 49ers were one of my teams that I would remember and watch when I was growing up during the Joe Montana. This is during the Joe Montana era, and then the Steve Young era, is when I would watch the 49er. And then it was like, yeah, the minor 49er. And then now that I know that I'm a minor, so I mine words. I literally go and I mine words from the documents that are out there that man has created, for God to go ahead and pick up and then manipulate and then create things from them, right? So I take those words now and then I create things with them, and then I make my claim like a 49er. All right, so that's the first one, right? So I claim that. I claim Article 1, Section 1, all men are by nature free and independent and have certain inalienable rights, among which are those of protecting property and pursuing and obtaining safety and happiness. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? Right? So I just claimed Article 1, Section 1, and I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? All right. Here we go. I claim Article 2, Section 2, all political power is inherent in the people, and they have the right to alter or reform the same whenever the public good may require it. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? All right, let's keep it moving. I claim Article 3, Section 3, the state of California is an inseparable part of the American Union, and the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? All right, keep it moving. I claim facts of words are creations of God, not creations of man. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? I ask man, woman, help man, woman build one body, one service, one fleet, one flow to protect children from harm. I give man value. I give man service. I give man value. I give man service, right? Man give I value, man give I time, right? I ask, do you agree? Yes or no, right? That's a fun one. Done. Contract. Simple. 1. Then I got name, date, mark, thumbprint, right? So that's how you always have to mark your documents with your thumbprint. You put your name down, you put your date down, you put your mark down, you put your thumbprint. Your thumbprint is your mark, right? Then that's done, right? So those words are now done. Then I have the maxim of law, right? So this document is complete, right? Because then I have the maxim of law. Maxim number 1, a workman is worthy of his hire. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? All men are equal under the law. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? In commerce, truth is sovereign. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? Truth is expressed in the form of affidavit. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? An unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in commerce. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? An unrebutted affidavit becomes, keyword, becomes truth in commerce. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? Affidavit is to trust, faithful, written fact. I ask, do you agree? Yes or no? Name, date, mark, thumbprint, done, 1. Okay, so those are the words to Article 1, Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3 within the California Constitution. Then I combine those with the words of the Bible. Then I combine those with the maxims of law, right? And then on that one document form, I have the Bible, I have the Constitution, and then I have the maxims of law. I have 3 sources of information that allow me to stand on my ground on my document, my contract with man, right? And I have to do this now because I have to create protection networks now. And then the only way that you can create the protection networks is by having your words. And you have to be able to stand on your words. So now that I have those words, and those words are written, it's because I wrote some words down back in August, right? Because so this is why I'm recording this too, my memory. Yeah, look at, what's my time at? Like 31? Okay, so this is gonna be a fairly long episode of the reality show, right? So check it out, right? So so here's my affidavit, right? So I wrote an affidavit down, because the world was going crazy during the Rona times. And so this one was stamped on 10 August 2021, right? By me, that's my puppet man. So my puppet man did this for me, and then I got it notarized, right? So, I had my documents down because, this is when I met my other man, Dave Jose. I met my man, Dave Jose, and I met my man, Josh Barnett. And then those 2 men helped me out with some words, right? And they helped me understand how to write the affidavits down, right? So then I took the Dave Jose affidavit coaching course, and then he showed me the words, so then I learned how to use the law, and then now I know how to use the law, and then the law, you just put it down on paper. Simple, right? So then this was an affidavit of demand to show clean hands and federal partnerships. Also, it was a declaration of membership in the private association and private status. So I declared my private status back in August of 2021. Right, because I didn't know before that there was a difference between public and private, right? So pre-August 2021, I did not know that there was a difference between the private realm and the public realm. And once I realized that the private realm is the realm of God, and then the public realm is the realm of man, I was like, I don't want to be in the realm of man, right? I want to be in the realm of God. So then I'm in the private realm because the private realm is of God, right? So the people of God operate in the private realm, and then the people of man operate in the public realm. It's really that simple. So the public realm mirrors the private realm. So everything that you see in the public, you see in the private, and everything you see in the private, you see in the public, right? So an example would be a public church is the government, and then a church is a church, right? So the government mirrors the church, right? And that's why the government is underneath the church, because it mirrors what God created, right? So God created man, right? And then man created government. And then those are the ways that things always go. So things God creates are what, God creates, right? So God creates all, right? And then God created man, and then man created things for man, right? And then that's just how the order works. The order of operation is always going to be God, and then it's going to be man, and then everything else, right? So you're always going to have to oversee the trust that God has given to you according to the rules in the Bible, right? So the rules in the Bible are how you're supposed to operate the trust of God. And that's how you operate all the things that man makes too, right? So you have to operate the government for man, because sometimes man, they forget they start to get into their puppet stages of not being able to use their senses, right? So man always goes into the state of not remembering who they are, and then they have to be shown and told by other man of what they're supposed to do. And we wrote the words down that show us how we're supposed to do it, and then we mimic it, and then we create those images, right? So we create the words trigger the mind, and then the mind triggers the body, and then the body triggers action, right? And then from the action you create. It's really that simple. Mind sees words create pictures in the head, and then the pictures in the head create pictures on paper, and then the pictures on paper create pictures in reality. It's a computer program. That's just how it goes. Very, very simple. So once you know how to operate these words, then you can do whatever you want. You become limitless, right? So back in August when I wrote this affidavit, so the affidavit of demand to show clean hands in federal partnerships, basically we were showing all of the federal government people, right? So we showed the Senate, we showed the Assembly, we showed the governor, and then we showed the Attorney General, right? So we showed all of these people what the rules are, right? Because we wrote the rules down for them to see. And then we were like, yeah. And then we showed them the 1935 Social Security Act, right? So we showed them the Social Security Act. And then we were showing them, in there, like how it was just to raise revenue, right? So the Social Security Act was an act that was written by man of government, right? Man of government wrote some things down on a piece of paper, and then they said, okay, now we have to operate under these rules, under this act, right? So they created all of these different things, and like it's called Title 42. So you can see all the things under Title 42 in this act, right? So the Social Security Act of 1935, just go check that out. That'll show you how man's government took words and then they created a whole world, right? So man's words created a whole world for mankind to live in as fiction, right? So man created persons for man to manage. So man was managing the masks of the persons for a very long time because, God was asleep. God didn't know. God didn't have the word because no one showed God the word, right? Because, they were just like, yeah. So there were all these other mankind, men and women who were wandering around, and then they didn't put the words in God's head they didn't show little man how to become big man and then how to become like God or be of God, right? So that's how the flow is supposed to go. When you're born, you're supposed to have vessels that take care of you until you're able to operate independently, right? But they're supposed to fill your mind up with good words that allow you to create things, right? So if they don't fill your mind up with the good words, then you create whatever your mind sees, whatever your mind sees, your mind creates and your mind manifests it, right? It's really that simple, right? So if you watch the screen, what the screen shows you, you create those energies in your mind, and then they go on paper, and then they become reality. So it just goes like that on and on and on, because that's how the simulation, if you want to call it a simulation, that's how the mind-manned simulation works. Man sees image, man creates fiction, fiction creates image goes into man's mind, and then man's mind creates reality based off of what it sees. Right. So if you fear things, you will create what you fear. Right. If you love things, you will create what you love. Right. You create what you are. It's really that simple. So I had to create the words on this document that told all of these people within man's realm that they don't control my property. And then I told them that if they couldn't show me that they can control my property, then for every encroachment. So I said within 5 days, back in August 10th, 2021. And then I said within 5 days, I said, if you fail to show these items, so I said, if you fail to respond and rebut my affidavit point by point, because that's the rule of the realm, is that an affidavit stands as truth in court. An unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in court, because that means the court is done. I held court. My court is done. Now, these people who I told them who were breaking their trust indenture, the Constitution, for every encroachment, they agreed to pay $100 million per encroachment against the above mentioned rights within this document that I wrote back in August 10th, 2021, right? That was a fun one. And, there's a bunch of us that wrote this down, right? And then we all wrote it down, and then we all mailed it out, right? Because this was all part of the pen and paper war, right? So there was a pen and paper war that was going on because, that's when man woke up and we were like, wait, you mean we control everything? And then we were like, yeah, we control everything. And then we were like, wait, what do you mean? And then they were like, look, you wrote it down, your forefathers, right? So the fathers before I wrote down these words for I to see and then be able to trigger and wake I up, right? So they write the words down, your ancestors write the words down for you to read. And then from those words, they allow you to function, right? So this is what this is. This is why this is my constitution being written down now. And now my constitution is in the virtual realm, right? This is why my affidavit that I sent out August 10th, 2021. And then I asked for them to respond to my affidavit within 5 days. And then they did not respond to my affidavit within 5 days. And I said, for everyone who did that, that's 100 million, right? I was 100 million for every encroachment. And then they were like, yeah, okay. And then I read the maxims of law, and then the maxims of law says an unrebutted affidavit stands as truth in court. And I'm like, yeah, that's what the rule said. And then I read that all law comes from the Bible, and then the Constitution even says that, right? So the public officials have written in their statutes that all law comes from the Bible, that the Bible is where the government gets its authority from, right? That's where. Well, because man wrote it, but, we wrote the rules according to how they're written in the Bible for the government to operate the Constitution. And then when you're asleep and you don't know that because you function under mankind or under man's domain, right? So you're functioning as a government puppet or something like that. When you're one of their puppets, then they tell you what your person is, right? So if you identify as a person, then that means you're a puppet, right? And then you have to say, well, who told me that I was that, right? It's just like from the Bible, right? The Bible says when God asked Adam, who told you you are naked, right? That's what man is supposed to do to other man. Who told you that you can do that to me? Right? I'm supposed to say that to every man because that's what God told Adam. Right? God said, who said that you were naked after I told you that you can do everything in this garden, but just don't eat from that tree, right? And then you let another serpent turn you, right? So a serpent came and turned Adam, and then it told Adam, hey man, go ahead and eat that. And then Adam was like, oh, okay, I'll eat it, and then he ate it, and then boom, we got all of this stuff right now, right? So you see, those same things happen from the stories from the Bible mirror reality, because this is what happened in reality, is that a man was like telling other man, hey man, there's going to be some nasty stuff that's going to be getting inside of you if you don't do this. And then I'm like, well, who told you that nasty stuff is going to get inside God's creation, right? Who told you that? Right? Nobody did that. Nobody told me that that's what I was supposed to say in the form of affidavit, right? So once I put it down on the paper, on the affidavit, and then I showed them their rules, right? So I showed them the Constitution, and then, just the Constitution crushes all government, right? It's like, yo, stop what you're doing, man. Like, why are you not operating under the rules what we told you, right? Why are you operating under other entities? What's wrong with you, right? We have to educate all government people for now and on, forever and ever and ever, because man creates government. God created man, man creates government, right? That's how the flow goes, right? So man has to operate government. And when you operate government, you have to operate government according to the rules God gave man, right? And that's how it's so simple, right? Because you just have to do no harm. And then once you start to cause harm and you take from man, right? Once you take from other men and other women, right, then you are causing harm, right? Because you have to contract, we have to be in agreement, right? So everything in this realm is about agreement, right? So you have to agree to the words that are written on the document. And that's all you have to do, right? So that's what I do now. I am man, I show simple, I show one, I show record, I show heart, right? That's all I do now, right? I just show the record from my heart, right? It's like, this is what I see and this is what you can do, right? This is what I do, right? That's all I'm doing now. That's it. So you're going to see this from now on in the future. So you can remember this show when you wake up and you can be like, yeah, you hit that button. Just like how people go back and watch Happy Days, right? And then just like how people go watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I'm going to be able to go back in time and I'm going to be able to watch this man's show, and I'm going to see this man's show talk about what it means to be a man, right? What it means to be a man of God, right? What it means to operate in God's kingdom, what it means to operate man's kingdom, man's realm, right? So man, me, I have to operate mankind's government, right? So then mankind's government can operate all of the things that it does. It's the hierarchy, right? So God is here, man is here, everything else underneath, right? Man has to operate everything else underneath like he is the puppet master. And you have to do it according to the rules of God. Simple. That's it. And on that note, I'm done with this lecture. I got my Bible in. I got my Constitution in. I got my affidavit in, right? So I got all my check marks off. So now I can use this conversation right here or this lecture right here as a record that when I want to show someone Article 1, Section 1, right? Article 1, Section 2, and Article 1 or Article 3 or Article 1, Section 3 of the California State Constitution. Here's my clip, right? Here's my clip, here's my bit, here's my story that shows you how I woke up to know what I am. So now I never have to say it anymore, right? I never have to say this part of the Constitution again. I never have to say anything like that. Now we can just talk man to man or man to woman, whatever, right? I just showed you who I am. I just showed you what man's creations can do for man, right? Not to man. You can do these things for man, not to man. Now we're done. All right. I'll see you in the future. Nobody's having more fun. Bye.